Next order.
Order number 1, administration of oath.
Next order.
Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Next order.
Order number 3, messages.
Next order.
Order number 4, petitions.
Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
May I call upon Honorable Stephen Mwandi to proceed and lay the paper.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Stephen Mwande, representing the great people of Kalakale Katini Ward. Honorable Speaker, I wish to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 29th November 2022. The report of Select Committee investigating the proposed removal from office of the Chairperson, the Secretary, and 2 members of County Public Service Board of Machakos. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Next order.
Order number 6, notice of motion.
We have 3 notices of motion. One by Honorable Stephen Mwandi, the Deputy Speaker. Then by Honorable Charles Mbuva, and by Honorable Nicholas Nzioka, the Majority Leader. I call upon those members to come and give their notices in that order.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, that aware that pursuant to Section 58, subsection 5 of the County Governments Act 2012 as read, together with Article 251, 1 of the Constitution, and in accordance with the Standing Order 62, a motion was tabled in the Assembly on 15th November 2022 by Honorable Nicholas Nzioka, the leader of the Majority Party and member for Machakos Central Ward, and approved on the same date, recommending to the Governor for the removal from office of Mr. George Kioko Luka as the Chairperson of Machakos County Public Service Board, Mr. Onesimus Muia as the Secretary of Machakos County Public Service Board, Mrs. Cecilia Mbinya Sereka and Ms. Stella Dinda Mudhoka as members of the Machakos County Public Service Board on the grounds of serious violation of the Constitution, gross misconduct, and incompetence. Aware that in accordance with the Standing Order 62, Suborder 8, the House in the same sitting constituted a select committee comprising of the 5 members appointed on the basis of relative majorities of the seats held by each of the assembly parties to investigate whether the allegations against the County Public Service Board members are substantiated. Further, aware that select committee held meetings to hear the mover of the motion, Honorable Nicholas Nzioka, witnesses and the respondents, and also requested for written memoranda and thereafter compiled a report. Honorable Speaker, I wish to give notice of motion that pursuant to the provisions of Section 58, subsection 5 of the County Governments Act 2012 and Standing Order 62, Suborder 11, this House approves the report of the Select Committee investigating the allegations on the removal from office of Mr. George Kioko Luka and Mr. Onesimus Muia Mutesia as Chairperson and the Secretary of Machakos County Public Service Board, respectively. Mrs. Cecilia Mbinya Sereka and Ms. Stella Dinda Mudhoka as members of the Machakos County Public Service Board on the grounds of serious violation of the Constitution, gross misconduct, and resolves to recommend to the Governor the removal from office of Mr. George Kioko Luka, Chairperson, Machakos County Public Service Board, on grounds of serious violation of the Constitution, County Governments Act 2012, Public Officers Act 2012, and other laws, and gross misconduct. 2, Mr. Onesimus Muya Mutisia, Secretary of Machakos County Public Service Board, on grounds of serious violation of the Constitution, County Governments Act 2012, Public Officers Act 2012, and other laws, and gross misconduct. 3, Ms. Cecilia Binya Sereka, member of the Machakos County Public Service Board, on grounds of serious violation of the Constitution, County Governments Act 2012, Public Officers Act 2012, and other laws, and gross misconduct. And Ms. Stella Ndinda Mudhoka, member of the Machakos County Public Service Board, on grounds of serious violation of the Constitution, County Governments Act 2012, Public Officers Act 2012, and other laws, and gross misconduct. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Proceed, Honorable Mbuva.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Charles Mbuva, representing the people of Kangundo West in this Legislative Assembly. Madam Speaker, I give notice of motion. Honorable Speaker, that aware that food security is listed as Agenda 1 among the Big Four agenda, and that agriculture is one of the key enablers of attaining the Vision 2030 policy goals. Further aware that pursuant to Article 21, Subarticle 2 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, the state shall take legislative, policy, and other measures, including the setting of standards, to achieve the progressive realization of the rights guaranteed in Article 43 of the Constitution. Cognizant that pursuant to Article 185 of the same Constitution, legislative function is vested in the County Assembly, aware that a policy is a guide to legislative action and it provides a broad strategy that a government uses to deliver services to its citizens. Remembering that the Department of Agriculture, Machakos County, has for the recent years undertaken critical roles such as seed distribution, fertilizer issuance, chicks distribution, and other agricultural-related inputs without a defined policy on agricultural input issuance. Informed that in the absence of the said policy, there has been challenges in the need assessment, incorporation of public participation, data on residents with critical needs, officers to administer issuance, time of issuance of inputs in relation to rainfall cycles, and monitoring of effectiveness of the use of the inputs after issuance. Honorable Speaker, I wish to give notice of motion that this House resolves that the County Government of Machakos develop for approval by the Assembly an agricultural inputs distribution and issuance policy to guide on procedures of issuance and ensure effective use of inputs by farmers for utmost realization of food security in the county. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Nicholas Nzioka, MCA for Machakos Central, and also the leader of the majority. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of motion that pursuant to Article 37 and 119 of the Kenyan Constitution, this County Assembly resolves to petition the National Assembly individually and collectively as the County Assembly's forum, via the annexed draft petition for the National Assembly to intervene, ensure, 1, that the County Wards Equitable Development Fund be incorporated in the proposed constitutional amendment bill before the National Assembly by the Honorable Stephen Mule and the Honorable Geshimo Githinji, alongside other proposed funds, namely the National Government Constituency Development Fund, National Government Affirmative Action Fund, the Senate Oversight Fund, and the Economic Stimulus and Empowerment Fund, either prior to the publication of the said bill or before it is referred to the Senate in accordance with the rules of procedure of Parliament. 2, that proposed constitutional amendment bill in amending Article 204 of the Constitution should provide for the following with respect to County Wards Equitable Development Fund. 1, that each county government shall allocate funds comprising of a certain percentage of the respective total county's annual budget estimates, or as shall be advised by the Commission on Revenue Allocation during the enactment of the County Allocation of Revenue Act to cater for County Wards Equitable Development Fund. 2, that all monies allocated to County Wards Equitable Development Fund shall be considered as funds allocated to wards pursuant to Article 206, 2C, to be administered in accordance with the provisions of an Act of Parliament, and that Parliament shall enact a legislation to provide for the administration of the County Wards Equitable Development Fund. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Can we have next order?
Order number 7, statements.
May I call upon Honorable Nicholas Nzioka to make his statement.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the House Business Committee met on Friday, the 25th November 2022 to prioritize business for the House as forwarded by committees and honorable members pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 151, Suborder 6D. The committee balloted as follows. Tuesday morning, 29th November 2022 at 10 a.m. A. Motion of approval of report of select committee investigating the proposed removal from office of the chairperson, the secretary, and 2 members of the County Public Service Board of Machakos. Number 2, Tuesday afternoon, 29th, 2022 at 2:30 p.m. Motion of development of an agricultural inputs distribution and issuer policy. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Clerk, let's have the next order.
Order number 8, motion, approval of report of select committee investigating the proposed removal from the office of the chairperson, the secretary, and the 2 members of the County Public Service Board of Machakos.
Okay. May I call upon Honorable Stephen Mwandi, Chairperson Select Committee, and the MCA Ekalakala Ward to move the motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Again, I'm Honorable Stephen Mwandi, representing Ekalakala, Ekatini Ward. Madam Speaker, I'll start with the introduction. Honorable Speaker, that aware that pursuant to Section 58, 5 of the County Governments Act 2012 as read with Article 251, 1 of the Constitution and in accordance with the Standing Order 62 with the necessary modifications, a motion was tabled in the Assembly on 15th November 2022 by Honorable Nicholas Nzioka, the leader of the majority party and member for Machakos Central Ward, and approved on the same date, recommending to the Governor for the removal from office of Mr. George Kyoko Luka as the chairperson of Machakos County Public Service Board. Mr. Onesimus Muya Mutesi as the Secretary of Machakos County Public Service Board, Ms. Cecilia Mbinya Sereka and Ms. Stella Ndinda Mudhoka as members of Machakos County Public Service Board, on the grounds of serious violation of the Constitution, gross misconduct, and incompetence. Aware that in accordance with Standing Order 62, Suborder 8, the House in the same sitting constituted a select committee comprising of 5 members appointed on the basis of relative majorities of the seats held by each of the assembly parties to investigate whether all allegations against the County Public Service Board members were substantiated. Further, aware that the select committee held meetings to hear the mover of the motion, Honorable Nicholas Nzioka, witnesses and the respondents, and also requested for written memoranda and thereafter compiled a report. Honorable Speaker, I wish to move the motion that, pursuant to the provisions of Section 58(5) of the County Governments Act 2012 and Standing Order 62, Suborder 11, this House approves the report of the Select Committee investigating the allegations on the removal from office of Mr. George Kioko Luka and Mr. Onesimus Muya Mutesi as Chairperson and Secretary of Machakos County Public Service Board, respectively. Ms. Cecilia Mbinya Sereka and Ms. Stella Ndinda Mudhoka as members of the Machakos County Public Service Board on the grounds of serious violation of the Constitution, gross misconduct, and resolves to recommend to the Governor the removal from office of Mr. George Kioko Luka, Chairperson, Machakos County Public Service Board, on grounds of serious violation of the Constitution, County Governments Act 2012, Public Officers Act 2012, and other laws, and gross misconduct. 2. Mr. Onesimus Muya Mutesi, Secretary of the Machakos County Public Service Board, on grounds of serious violation of the Constitution, County Governments Act 2012, Public Officers Act 2012, and other laws, and gross misconduct. 3. Ms. Cecilia Mbinya Sereka, member of Machakos County Public Service Board, on grounds of serious violation of the Constitution, County Governments Act 2012, Public Officers Act 2012, and other laws, and gross misconduct, misconduct. And 4. Ms. Stella Ndinda Mudhoka, member of Machakos County Public Service Board, on grounds of serious violation of the Constitution, County Governments Act 2012, Public Officers Act 2012, and other laws, and gross misconduct. And so I call upon Honorable Grace Bart to second.
Honorable Grace Bahati, proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I do second. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, I now propose the question that, pursuant to the provisions of Section 58(5) of the County Government Act 2012 and Standing Order 62(11), this House approves the report of the Select Committee investigating the allegations on the removal from office of Mr. George Kioko Luka and Mr. Onesimus Muya Mutesi as Chairperson and the Secretary of Machakos County Public Service Board, respectively, Ms. Cecilia Mbinya Sereka and Ms. Stella Ndinda Mudhoka as members of the Machakos County Public Service Board on the grounds of serious violation of the Constitution, gross misconduct, and resolves to recommend to the Governor the removal from office of one, Mr. George Kioko Luka, Chairperson, Machakos County Public Service Board, on grounds of serious violation of the Constitution, County Government Act 2012, Public Officers Act 2012, and other laws and gross misconduct. 2, Mr. Onesimus Muya Mutisia, Secretary of Machakos County Public Service Board, on grounds of serious violation of the Constitution, County Governments Act 2012, Public Officers Act 2012, and other laws and gross misconduct. 3, Ms. Cecilia Mbinya Sereka, member of the Machakos County Public Service Board, on grounds of serious violation of the Constitution, County Governments Act 2012, Public Officers Act 2012, and other laws and gross misconduct. And 4, Ms. Stella Ndinda Mudoka, member of the Machakos County Public Service Board, on grounds of serious violation of the Constitution, County Government Act 2012, Public Officers Act 2012, and other laws and gross misconduct. Before we debate this matter, I have received some communication, members, which I would like straight away to communicate to you. Good morning, honorable members. I have the following message from Her Excellency Wavinya Ndeti, the Governor of Machakos County, pursuant to Standing Order number 39. Resignation of George Kioko Luka as Chairperson of Machakos County Public Service Board. Honorable members, I have this morning received a letter from County Attorney notifying the County Assembly on the resignation of George Kioko Luka as Chairperson of the Machakos County Public Service Board on medical grounds. Further, the House is notified that Her Excellency Wavinya Ndeti, the Governor of Machakos County, in a letter dated 29th November 2022, has acknowledged the resignation of Mr. George Kioko Luka. Thank you, honorable members, and I have the letter with me here. We just received it. Thank you, members. We may now proceed from there. But before we debate the report, I would request to invite the honorable mover of that motion, Honorable Mwandi, to take the House through the report. Welcome, Honorable Mwandi. Stephen.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I'll start with the introduction. Page 2 is abbreviations of the report. Background. Pursuant to Section 58, subsection 5 of the County Governments Act 2012 as read, together with Article 251(1) of the Constitution and in accordance with Standing Order 62 with the necessary modifications, a motion dated 14th November 2022 and approved on the same date, recommending to the Governor for the removal from office of Mr. George Kioko Luka and Mr. Onesimus Muya Mutisia as Chairperson and the Secretary of Machakos County Public Service Board, respectively. Ms. Cecilia Mbinya Sereka and Ms. Stella Ndinda Mudoka as members of the Machakos County Public Service Board on the grounds of serious violation of the Constitution, gross misconduct and incompetence was tabled in the Assembly on 15th November 2022 by Honorable Nicholas Nzioka, the Majority Leader and member of Machakos Central Ward. The motion was accompanied by a statutory declaration that the particulars in the motion were true to his knowledge and also contained signatures of at least a third of members of the Assembly in support of the motion. Section 58.5 of the County Governments Act 2012 provides that the members of the County Public Service Board may only be removed from office A, on grounds set out for the removal of members of a constitutional commission under Article 251(1) of the Constitution, and B, by a vote of not less than 75% of all members of County Assembly. 3. Article 251 1 of the Constitution provides that a member of a commission other than an ex officio member or the holder of an independent office may be removed from office only for A, serious violation of this Constitution or any other law, including a contravention of Chapter 6, B, gross misconduct, whether in the performance of the members or office holders' functions or otherwise. C, physical or mental incapacity to perform the functions of office. D, incompetence or bankruptcy. Standing Order 62, with necessary modifications, provides that A member may give notice of motion in writing to the clerk requiring the governor to remove from office a member of County Public Service Board under Section 58.5 of the County Governments Act 2012. The notice of motion shall be signed by the member and shall be accompanied by a statutory declaration by the member affirming that the particulars contained in the motion are true to his or her knowledge, and the declaration shall contain full names, national identification number, and postal address of the member. The motion shall be supported by at least 1/3 of all members, who shall append their signatures and date in support of the motion as endorsed on the motion. The clerk shall submit the proposed motion to the Speaker for approval. The motion shall be tabled in the immediate next committee meeting of House Business Committee for balloting. The House Business Committee shall ballot the notice of the motion, which shall be given in the next sitting of the Assembly. After the notice of motion is given, the motion shall be placed in the Assembly order paper for the next sitting, provided that if the Assembly is not sitting, the Speaker shall call a special sitting for the motion to be considered. If the motion is supported by at least 1/3 of all members, the Assembly shall, in the same sitting, appoint select committee comprising of 5 members appointed on the basis of relative majorities of the seats held by each of the Assembly parties to investigate on the matter. The select committee appointed under paragraph 8 shall within 10 days report to the Assembly whether the allegations against the member of the County Public Service Board are substantiated. The clerk shall immediately in writing inform the affected members of the County Public Service Board the resolution of the Assembly. The County Public Service Board member has right to appear and be represented before the select committee during its investigations. If the select committee reports that it finds the allegations A unsubstantiated, no further proceedings shall be taken, or B substantiated, the Assembly shall vote on whether to approve the resolution requiring the County Public Service Board member to be dismissed. 12. If a solution under paragraph 11b is supported by at least 75% of all members of the Assembly, then the Speaker shall promptly deliver the resolution to the Governor, and B, the Governor shall dismiss the County Public Service Board member. 5. The motion was tabled in the House Business Committee on 14th November 2022 and balloted to be tabled in the House on 15th November 2022 pursuant to Standing Order 65(5), 6, and 7. The notice of motion was given on the 15th November 2022 in the morning sitting, and the motion placed in the order paper for discussion on 15th November 2022 at 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon sitting, and was supported by 23 members of the Assembly who were more than 1/3 of members required under Standing Order 62(8) to constitute a select committee to investigate the matter. 1.2. Committee membership. In accordance with Standing Order 62(8) of the House, in the same sitting constituted a select committee comprising of the following members appointed on the basis of relative majorities of the seats held by each Assembly parties. 1. Honorable Stephen Mwandi. 2. Honorable Raphael Zaulaki. 3. Honorable Brian Kisila. 4. Honorable Grace Bart. And 5. Honorable Philip Dolo. The committee and a secretariat, Committee Secretariat. The committee was facilitated by the following secretariat members. 1. Dominic Musioka. 2. Who is Procedure and Committee Services. Hilary Muthi, Head of Department Legal and Library. 3, Ms. Nora Muteti, Senior Clerk Assistant. 4, Mr. Dalmas Masela, Senior Research Officer. 5, Mr. Wanyike Juguna, Deputy Agent Editor. 5, Mr. Brian Modhos, Legal Counsel. 1, 7, Mr. Arizon Mulonsi, Clerk Assistant. 2, Lewis Mwok, Research Officer. And 9, Mr. Erastus Mutua, Commissioner. 2, preparations for the investigations. Meetings of the Select Committee. The Select Committee held its first meeting on Wednesday, 16th November 2022 at noon. At the meeting, the committee elected Honorable Stephen Mwandi and Honorable Grace Bart unopposed as the chairperson and vice chair respectively. The committee proposed to hold further meetings to prepare for work plan on how to carry out the task, hear the mover of the motion and receive his evidence and establish whether he had witnesses. C, hear the respondents, receive any documents that will have been submitted by the public, undertake report writing, and deal with any other matter related to the mandate of the committee. 2, terms of reference. The committee, pursuant to Standing Order 62.8a, the committee adopted the terms of reference as to investigate whether the motion recommending the removal from office of the 4 office bearers of Machakos County Public Service Board on grounds of serious violation of the Constitution, gross misconduct, and incompetence are substantiated and report to the House. The 4 office holders are Mr. George Kioko Luka, Chairperson, Machakos County Public Service Board; Onesimus Muia Mutisia, Secretary, Machakos County Public Service Board; Ms. Cecilia Binya Sereka, Member, Machakos County Public Service Board; and Stella Ntinda Mudoka, Member, Machakos County Public Service Board. Work plan for the events. Following the election of the chairperson and vice chairperson, the committee considered an indicative program of events for the committee guided by Article 196 of Constitution, Standing Order 62.8a and 63 of the County Assembly of Machakos Standing Orders. Standing Order 62.8a provides that the Select Committee has 10 days to report to the Assembly whether the allegations against the members of the County Public Service Board are substantiated. Further, Standing Order 63.1a provides that whenever the Constitution or any other law or the standing orders require the Assembly to consider a petition or a proposal for the removal of a person from office, the person shall be entitled to appear before the relevant committee of the Assembly considering the matter and shall be entitled to legal representation. In addition, Standing Order 63.2 requires that the person being removed from office to be availed with the report of the Select Committee together with any other evidence adduced and such note or papers presented to the committee at least 3 days before the debate of the motion, on the motion. 12. Based on the provisions of the Constitution and standing orders, the committee developed a work plan to guide it in executing the task. The committee observed that pursuant to Standing Order 62A, it ended up to 25th November 2022 to table a report in the House. Additionally, as required by Article 196 of the Constitution, the committee needed to place an advertisement in the print media informing members of the public and the respondents of the proposed removal of the Secretary and the 3 members of County Public Service Board and to request them to provide any information on the matter. To ensure a reasonable, adequate notice to the respondents and members of public, the committee observed that the Secretary and the 3 members of County Public Service Board be invited to appear before the committee on 21st November 2022. Further, the committee required time to compile a report and also 3 days to avail the report to the respondents as per Standing Order 63.2. All these requirements meant that the Select Committee could not table its report on Wednesday, 23rd November 2022, which was the last sitting of the week for the Assembly. Consequently, the committee agreed to urge the House to resolve to extend its time of reporting by 4 days to report on Tuesday, 29th November 2022. 2.4. Notification and submission of memoranda on removal of Secretary and 3 members of County Public Service Board. Article 196(1) of the Constitution provides that a County Assembly shall conduct its business in an open manner and hold its sittings and those of its committees in public, and b. facilitate public participation and involvement in the legislative and other business of the Assembly and its committees. In accordance with the provision of the Constitution, members of public were notified through the print media on Thursday, 17th November 2022, and that the County Assembly was investigating the conduct of Mr. George Kioko Luka and Mr. Onesmus Moya Mutesia as chairperson and secretary of the Machakos County Public Service Board, respectively. Ms. Cecilia Mbinya Sereka and Ms. Stella Ndinda Modhoka as members of Machakos County Public Service Board. Members of the public were notified that the chairperson, secretary, and the members of the board will appear before the select committee investigating them on 21st November 2022. Members of public were also requested to submit any information, comments, or complaints relating to the said persons. Written memorandum by way of sworn-in statements or affidavits, accompanied by any documentary evidence, were to be submitted to the clerk of the County Assembly on or before 19th November 2022 at 10 a.m. Invitations to appear. Section 18(1) of the County Assembly's Powers and Privileges Act 2017 provides that a County Assembly or its committees may invite or summon any person to appear before it for the purpose of giving evidence or providing any information, paper, book, record, or document in the possession or under the control of that person, and in this respect, a County Assembly and its committees shall have the same powers as High Court as specified under Article 195 of the Constitution. Standing Order 171 of the County Assembly of Machakos Standing Orders provides that committees shall enjoy and exercise all the powers and privileges bestowed on Assembly by the Constitution and statute, including the power to summon witnesses, receive evidence, and request for and receive papers and documents from the government and the public. Pursuant to Section 18 of the County Assembly's Powers and Privileges Act 2017 as read with Standing Orders 6210, 63.1, and 171, the chairperson, the secretary, and the two members of the board were invited to appear before the committee on 21st November 2022 through the print media on Thursday, 17, 2022. Further, individual invitations to appear before the select committee were served in person to their offices and through last known email addresses and the mobile messaging application WhatsApp to the last known mobile phone number. The persons were represented at the hearing by two legal representatives, namely Mr. Rono Kibet and Mr. Douglas Mumbi. Further, pursuant to Section 18 of the County Assembly's Powers and Privileges Act 2017 as read with the Standing Orders 171, the committee invited the mover of the motion, Honorable Nicholas Zioka, on 17th November 2022 via letter, reference MKSCA/ADM/CPSB/Volume 18, dated 17th November 2022. To provide evidence on the motion tabled on the removal from office of the chairperson, secretary, and the two members of County Public Service Board. Honorable Nzioka appeared before the committee on 17th and 18th November 2022, where he tabled documentary evidence supporting the removal of the said persons. Honorable Nzioka further informed the committee that he had three witnesses who were ready to testify in support of the removal of the four persons. The witnesses were A. Franklin Musela Makola, member of the County Public Service Board, to B. Miss Ellen Mudeu Musau, and C. Miss Caroline Zioka. The committee further invited the named witnesses to appear before it on 18th November 2022 via letter, reference number MKSCA/ADM/CPSB/Volume 1/5, 6, and 7, dated 17th November 2022. To receive their statements and establish whether they were ready to testify against the named persons on 21st November 2022. Hearings. Mr. George Kioko Luka, chairperson of the County Public Service Board. Sorry. The hearing of Mr. George Kioko Luka before the committee commenced at 10 a.m. with the reading out of the particulars of allegations served to him. The charges were set out in Annex 7. 311. Serious violation of the Constitution, County Governments Act 2012, Public Officers Ethics Act 2012, and other laws. The following were the specific matters canvassed under this charge. A. Failing to practice and promote the principle that public officers should be selected on the basis of integrity, competence, and suitability. The mover of the motion in the particulars of allegations stated that Judge Kyoko had violated Section 22 of Public Officers Ethics Act 2003, Sections 66 and 68A of the County Governments Act 2012. On 26th April 2021, Mr. George Kyoko shared a list of preferred officers for recruitment to all board members in anticipation of an advertisement that was due to run in the newspaper. The advertisement was run in May 2021 and closed on 23rd May 2021. The advertisement was of 21 positions, 20 medical officers and 1 general surgeon. After the closure of the exercise, he personally and decisively added 4 medical officers and 1 surgeon, making a total of 26. In support of the allegations, the mover of the motion made reference to the following documents. Roman 1, an email from George Kyoko on 26 April 2021 at 7:10 p.m. to County Public Service Board members. And 2, an advert by County Public Service Board for 20 medical officers, 5 medical laboratory technicians, 3 and 1 surgeon. Witness Franklin McCullough. The witness Franklin McCullough told the committee that prior to the advert, the chairperson of the board shared a list of all board members via their emails. The witness informed the committee that the user department had earlier requested for recruitment of 40 doctors, which was declined by the board due to lack of budget. He told the committee that the number of doctors agreed upon for recruitment was 20. A response. In response, George Kyoko stated that there was never such a list of preferred officers, and the recruitment was done procedurally as per the law, as evidenced by 2 cabinet approvals and 2 request letters which confirmed availability of budget and vacancies. The chairperson further stated that under Article 201D of the Constitution, public funds should be used in a prudent way, and thus the board could not advertise afresh because they picked from the existing pool of doctors. Observations of the Select Committee. The Select Committee observed that there was no advert for the 4 additional medical officers and 1 surgeon. The chairperson admitted that there was no need to re-advertise for application of the extra medics and had stated that they used the list of the existing applicants. 2, the committee observed that the board, under the leadership of Mr. George Kyoko, recruited the extra 4 medical officers and 1 extra surgeon. And 3, the cabinet approvals and requests by user department cited by the chairman were not availed to the committee. B, failure to advertise positions widely and promote equity. The mover of the motion in the particulars of allegations stated that George Kyoko and violated Article 73(2)(c) Roman 1 of the Constitution on honesty in execution of public duties, Section 66 and 68A of the County Governments Act 2012, by presiding over the inclusion of 4 persons into the payroll by purporting to reinstate them while the said persons were never employees of County Government of Machakos. In support of the above allegations, the mover of the motion made reference to a letter, reference is there, dated 27th July 2021, from the County Executive Committee member for Public Service, Quality Management and ICT, and addressed the Secretary of the Board and copied to the Chairman, County Public Service Board. Witness, Franklin McCullough. Mr. Franklin McCullough expressed concern on the manner in which the matter on the reinstatement of the 4 officers was handled by the board. He stated that the push was driven by ill motive. Response. In response, Mr. George Kyoko stated that the officers were suspended following a criminal case in Machakos, HCCC number 8 of 2012. The accused persons were acquitted on 10th February 2020, and legally they entitled to reinstatement. The reinstatement of the officers was done procedurally by the board. The board received a court order to reinstate the 4 officers, after which it sought an advisory from the county legal office. The advisory was that the board should proceed with the reinstatement. The board proceeded to reinstate the officers as per the court order and the advisory. Mr. George Kyoko provided the following documents to support his submissions. Roman 1, the court judgment, advisory from the county attorney, letter dated 25th October 2021 from Chief Officer and Department of Public Service and Quality Management, and 4, letter dated 22nd April 2021 from Chief Officer, Department of Public Service and Quality Management. Observations of the Select Committee. The committee observed that, notwithstanding the court order and the views held by the various departments, the main matter of concern was the procedure followed by the board to reinstate the officers into the payroll. The committee was not shown the board minutes of the resolution to reinstate the 4 officers. 2, despite the advisory from the CCM, Public Service Quality Management and ICT on the procedure to be followed to reinstate the 4 officers, no correspondence between the County Public Service Board and the Public Service Commissions on the procedure for the reinstatement of the 4 was availed to the committee. C, acting through others by directing a person under his supervision to contravene the Code of Conduct and Ethics. The mover of the motion in the particular of allegations stated that Judge Kyoko violated Section 24 of Public Officers Ethics Act 2012 by letting the board operate without a substantive accounting officer, and went into alliance with the secretary who had usurped the powers of both the chief executive officer of the secretariat and the accounting officer to serve his interests at the expense of professionalism expected in the institution. This is a demonstration of incompetence on his part. In support of the above allegation, the mover made reference to the legal opinion on the appointment of accounting officer. Response. In response, Judge Kyoko stated that the accounting officer for the board is neither appointed by the chair nor by the board, and cited a circular issued by a transition authority dated 16th February 2015. Mr. Judge Kyoko reiterated that the secretary of the board is also the chief executive officer. Observations of the select committee. The committee observed that the circular referred to by the chairperson dated 16th February 2015 was very specific and explained on the management of county public service boards during the onset of devolution in Kenya. The circular cited Section 57 of the County Governments Act 2012, which states that there is established a county public service board in each county, which shall be a body corporate with perpetual succession and a seal, and capable of suing and being sued in its corporate name. The circular also cited Section 58(1), which provides for the composition of the county public service to comprise of A, a chairperson appointed in accordance with Section 58A, B, at least 3 but not more than 5 members appointed in accordance with Section 58, C, a certified public secretary of good professional standing nominated and appointed by the governor with the approval of the county assembly, who shall be the secretary to the board. Further, the circular cited Section 148, 1, 2, and 3 of Public Finance Management Act 2012, which provides that 1. A county executive committee member for finance shall accept as otherwise provided by law in writing designate accounting officers to be responsible for managing the finances of the county government entities as is specified in the designation. 2. Except as otherwise stated in other legislation, the person responsible for the administration of the county government entity shall be the accounting officer responsible for managing the finances of that entity. 3. A county executive committee member for finance shall ensure that each county government entity has an accounting officer in accordance with Article 226 of the Constitution. Based on the foregoing legal provisions and evidence relied on by the mover, the committee observed that the legal opinion tabled by the mover of the motion could not be authenticated as it and no reference or identity of the author. Though there was no legal provision that expressly provided that the secretary of the County Public Service Board is responsible for administration of the County Public Service Board as the county government entity, nor the accounting officer, the board acted on the guidance by Transitional Authority, which was also copied to all county secretaries, chairpersons, and secretaries of County Public Service Boards, advising that the County Public Service Board, being a replica of the Public Service Commission and the County At the county level, the secretary is usually head of the Secretariat, Chief Executive Officer, CEO, and the accounting officer. The responsibility of designating persons as accounting officers to be responsible for managing of the finances of the county government entities lies with the county executive committee member for finance. D, failing to take action on irregularity of the process. The mover of the motion in the particulars of allegations stated that George Kioko Luka has violated Article 10 of the National Values and Principles of Governance of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 and Section 75 of the County Governments Act 2012 that requires the board to action on irregularity of process by failing to address the county's huge wage bill, which is currently at 55.4% instead of 35%. According to Regulation 25(1)(b) of the Public Finance Management, Regulations 2015, instead he has been presiding over the payment of huge amounts of money in terms of illegal extraneous and other allowances to his relatives, among them Regina Wakio Kioko and Vice Chairperson's relatives, as well as others working for different considerations. For instance, most employees of the County Public Service Board are on extraneous allowances despite the fact that they report to work at 8 and leave at 5 p.m. A look at the list of 13. Among them, his daughter includes cleaners who are paid extraneous allowances for just doing what they were employed to do. In support of the above allegations, the mover of the motion made reference to recommendations of the report of the Labour, Public Service and ICT Committee of the Second Assembly tabled and approved on 4th May 2022. Witness Franklin Makola. Mr. Makola reiterated that it was the responsibility of the board to advise the county government on wage bill. He cited irregular promotions and awarding of extraneous allowances, some of the contributing factors of the increase in wage bill, and accused the chairperson of being responsible by disregarding the county assembly report of the Labour, Public Service and ICT Committee. Response. In response, George Kioko Luka stated that the wage bill was controlled by the executive and its appointed accounting officers or chief officers. He further argued that before the board commits any funds in hiring of staff, there is always confirmation of budget for the executive accounting officers. Observation of the Select Committee. The committee observed that there was no policy presented before the committee on awarding extraneous allowance in the county public service. Extraneous allowance was arbitrarily granted to officers. 3. The payment of extraneous allowances has contributed to the ballooning wage bill in the county. 4. The chairperson, in his own submissions to the committee on appointments during approval hearings of 24th February 2020, he appreciated the count and a bloated wage bill and committed to address it. However, the chairperson has not demonstrated this resolve and presided over granting of an unqualified allowances and promotions and procedurally. The chairperson stated that it was not the duty of the board to control the wage bill. Despite the first County Public Service Board awarding extraneous allowances to officers without a proper policy, the current board under the leadership of George Kioko Luka contravened Section 75 of the County Governments Act 2012 that requires the board to take corrective actions of any irregularities made prior. By selectively awarding extraneous allowance to a few members of staff, the board, under the leadership of George Kioko Luka, contravened Article 10 of the Constitution on values that bind all state organs, state officers, public officers, and all persons wherever any of them applies or interprets this Constitution, B, enacts, applies, or interprets any law, or C, makes or implements public policy decisions. The chairperson did not demonstrate values of good governance, integrity, transparency, and accountability, as well as sustainable development in the execution of their mandate. Failure to evaluate and report to the County Assembly on the extent to which the values and principles referred to Article 10 and 2 of the Constitution are complied with in the County Public Service. The move of the motion in the particulars of allegations stated that George Kioko Luka had violated Section 59(1)(f) of the County Governments Act 2012 that requires the board to report on the extent to which the values and principles referred to in Articles 10 and 232 of the Constitution are complied with to the County Assembly. The chairperson of the County Public Service Board and presided over a board that has never reported to the County Assembly on the extent to which the values and principles referred to in Articles 10 and 232 are complied with to the County Assembly. In response, Judge Kioko Luka stated that the board reported on its activities to the County Assembly on a quarterly basis and not on annual basis. He, however, stated that the copies of the received reports and the delivery book could not be accessed because the offices had been locked. Observations of the Select Committee. The chairperson in his response misled the committee by stating that the board had been submitting quarterly reports. The committee observed that the board only submitted one quarterly operational report in April 2021 and described it as the report contemplated under Section 59(1)(f) of the County Governments Act 2012. On further perusal of the report, the committee observed that the contents of the report were in compliance with Section 59(1)(d) of the County Governments Act 2012 and not Section 59(1)(f) of the same Act. Section 59(1)(d) of the County Governments Act 2012 provides that the functions of the County Public Service Board shall be on behalf of the county government to prepare regular reports for submission to the County Assembly on the execution of the functions of the board. Further, Section 59(1)(f) provides that the functions of the County Public Service Board shall be on behalf of the county government to evaluate and report to the County Assembly on the extent to which the values and principles referred to Articles 10 and 232 are complied with in the County Public Service. The quarterly report submitted by the County Public Service Board in April 2021 reported all the activities of the committees of the board, namely Career Progression and Complement Committee, Recruitment and Selection Committee, Audit and Compliance Committee, and Finance and Procurement Committee. The activities reported include approval of renewal of contracts, promotions, confirmations of appointments, redesignations, extraneous allowance, special duty allowance, responsibility allowance, transfer of service, recruitment on contract, disciplinary matters, advertisements, re-advertisements, and delegated authority. The board also reported on its procurement of goods and services, among other operational activities. Section 59(5) of the County Government Act 2020, as read with Section 59(1)(f) of the same Act, requires the report of the board to include Roman 1, all the steps taken and decisions made by the board; 2, specific recommendations that require to be implemented in the promotion and protection of the values and principles; 3, specific decisions on particulars of persons or public body who have violated the values and principles, including action taken or recommended against them; and 4, any impediment in the promotion of the values and principles; and 5, the programs the board is undertaking or has planned to undertake in the medium term towards the promotion of values and principles. The committee notes that the report of the board clearly fell short of what is required by Section 59(1)(f) of the County Governments Act 2012, which should be delivered each December to the County Assembly, and fits in the report described in 59(1)(d) of the County Governments Act 2012 as it was on the execution of its functions. On whether the chairperson could not access County Public Service offices to get documents, no evidence was provided by the legal representative that Judge Kioko Luka could not be able to access the County Public Service Board offices to get documents to support. Findings of the Select Committee on Serious Violation of Constitution, County Governments Act 2012, Public Officers Act 2012, and other laws. Mr. Judge Kioko Luka has violated Section 75 of County Governments Act 2012 that requires the board to take corrective actions of any irregularities made prior by not taking corrective action to payment of extraneous allowances leading to high wage bill to the county to the county above 35% as stipulated by Regulation 25(1)B of the Public Finance Management Regulations 2015. The allowances were being earned by officers performing their normal duties from 8 to 5 p.m., like cleaners, office attendants, secretaries, the CEO to the board, and his daughter, who has never worked as a deputy sub-county administrator. 2. Article 10 of the Constitution on National Values and Principles of Governance that bind all state organs, state officers, public officers, and all persons, whenever any of them applies or interprets this Constitution, B, enacts, applies, or interprets any law, or C, makes or implements public policy decisions and did not demonstrate good governance, integrity, transparency, and accountability by A, not re-advertising recruitment of 4 medical officers and 1 surgeon, B, selectively awarding extraneous allowances to undeserving members of staff. C, failure to allow advisory by a CCM to consult Public Service Commission on the matter of reinstating 4 officers of the de facto Municipal Council of Machakos suspended for criminal allegations but later acquitted. Section 59(1)D and F, County Governments Act 2012 on providing regular and annual reports to the Assembly. The board has submitted 1 quarterly report pursuant to Section 59(1)D of the County Governments Act 2012. Since the chairperson was not appointed in March 2020 and has not provided implementation reports to the Assembly as required by Article 183(3) of the Constitution and Standing Orders 18 of the County Assembly of Machakos Standing Orders, the board has not implemented the solutions of the report of the Labor, Public Service, and ICT Committee of the Second Assembly on allegations of corruption, abuse of office by some members of the board, tabled and approved by the House on 4th May 2022. Articles 10 and 232 of the Constitution for failure to submit the County Assembly annual reports to the extent to which the values and principles referred to in are complied with. Pursuant to Section 58(5) of the County Governments Act 2012, the Standing Order 62(11) of the County Assembly Standing Orders, the committee finds this charge unsubstantiated. Gross misconduct. The following were specific matters canvassed under this charge: involvement in irregular recruitment processes. The mover of the motion, in particulars of allegations, stated that George Kyokoluka had violated Article 10 and 73(2)A of the Constitution on selection of the basis of personal integrity, competence, and suitability of Section 46 of the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act 2003 by and procedurally Article 10 and 232 of the Constitution for failure to submit the County Assembly annual reports to the extent to which The mover of the motion, in the particulars of allegations, stated that George Kyokoluka had violated Articles 1073(2)A of the Constitution on selection on basis of personal integrity, competence, and suitability, and Section 46 of the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act 2003 by Roman 1, and procedurally conferring a benefit by purporting to allocate an official vehicle to the Vice Chairperson, KBX 810T, for the single purpose of facilitating the hiring of our son Samson Sereka as a driver. Consequently, he was hired on a 3-year contract on Job Group D. The officer was not qualified for the job. The mover of the motion relied on minutes of recruitment and selection committee on 26th February 2021. Franklin Makola, witnessing against Mr. George Kyokoluka, told the committee that all members of the board were entitled to a driver. However, the provision of employing a self-driver was pegged on availability of an official vehicle. The vehicle in question was not in good condition and that it operated for a short while and was grounded. The vehicle was brought to the County Public Service Board premises in the disguise of creating an employment for the Vice Chairperson's son. In response, George Kyokoluka stated that the vehicle KBX 810T was procedurally allocated to vice chairperson. The allocated vehicle later broke down, necessitating the board to terminate the recruited driver in line with Section 75 of County Governments Act 2012. Observations of the Select Committee. The committee observed that the vehicle KBX 810T was allocated to County Public Service Board via letter reference dated 14th August 2020. The Chief Officer Roads and Transport. The Secretary County Public Service Board requested for funds to repair the vehicle from County Treasury on a letter via reference dated 22nd September 2020. The vehicle was allocated to a driver by the name Joseph Muema of PFN number 201300533833 between 22nd December 2020 and 28th May 2021 as evidenced from the check-in and check-in form and check-out form and work tickets that were provided. The committee visited the County Public Service Board offices and observed that the vehicle had broken down. The Recruitment and Selection Committee, in which the Vice Chairperson was present, approved for appointment by full board Mr. Samson Sereka, the son to the Vice Chairperson, on 26th February 2020. At the time of appointment and 3 months later, the said vehicle had a driver by the name Joseph Muema, and Samson Sereka was paid for doing nothing. 2, he facilitated the hiring of 9 officers, among them son of the Vice Chairperson, Mrs. Cecilia Bina Sereka, being Boniface Mutugei Sereka of ID number 2996-1233, through abuse of delegated authority on 6th August 2020. The officers were employed on contract effective from 4th January 2021 to September 2022. The son was employed at an entry level of Job Group K, without the necessary qualifications, on the 5th October 2021. In a meeting convened and chaired by the Vice Chairperson, mother to Boniface Mutugei, the terms of the 9 officers were illegally changed to permanent and pensionable terms. This is without regard to the fact that the officers were all being employed in a constitutional office whose term was to end in August 2022. The mover of the motion tabled minutes of 6th August 2020 on a request for delegated authority by the Office of the Deputy Governor. Further, the mover tabled an extract of minutes of 5th October 2021, changing the terms of service of Boniface Mutugei Sereka. In response, Mr. George Kyokoluka stated that the officers were recruited by the Office of the Deputy Governor under a delegated authority given by the board. The board adopted the approved the recommended individuals, during which the Vice Chair registered conflict of interest and excused herself from the exercise. The conflict of interest register could not be accessed from the office. The board operates through committees constituted via resolution of the board, namely Recruitment and Selection, Career and Progression, Finance and Audit committees. Extract of the minutes provided showed that the chairman is not the chair of the Recruitment and Selection Committee, nor a member. Observations of the Select Committee. The committee observed that, in full knowledge of the chairperson through a meeting of the Career Progression Committee, without following the due process, changed the terms of employment of 9 employees who were previously on contract in the Office of the Deputy Governor to permanent and pensionable terms. The terms of employment of the contractual staff were changed before the end of the 3-year contract period. Further, there was no evidence of the request for the Office of the Deputy Governor on the grounds for the change of terms on the contractual staff to permanent terms. Findings of the Select Committee on the charge of gross misconduct. Mr. George Kyokoluka contravened Articles 10 and 73(2) of the Constitution by failure to request for declaration of personal interest in proceedings of Career and Progression Committee, resulting to approval of change of terms of employment of 9 contractual staff working in the Office of the Deputy Governor before the end of the 3-year contract period, where the son of the Vice Chairperson was one of the beneficiaries. The Chairperson bears the responsibility of the decisions made by the board and its committees. Further, nepotism and favorism by not advertising recruitment of the personal driver of the vice chairperson of the board and instead employing the son of the vice chairperson. Pursuant to Section 58(5) of the County Governments Act 2012 and Standing Order 62 of the County Assembly Standing Orders, the committee finds this charge substantiated. 2. Mr. Onesimus Muya Mutesia, Secretary to the County Public Service Board. The hearing of Mr. Onesimus Muya Mutesia before the committee commenced on at 12:40 p.m. with the reading out of the particulars of the allegations served to him. The charges are set out in Annex 22. 1. Serious violation of the Constitution, County Governments Act 2012, Public Officers Ethics Act 2012, and other laws. The following were the specific matters canvassed under this charge. Improperly enriched himself and abused office by issuing his office to improperly confer a benefit to himself and other officers. The mover of the motion in particulars of allegations stated that Onesimus Muya Mutesia violated Article 1073(2)(a) and C and 221(a) and B of the Constitution on selection of the basis of personal integrity, competence, and suitability, values and principles of public service being high standards of professional ethics, efficient, effective, and economic use of resources, Section 46 of the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act 2003, and Section 11 of the Public Officers Ethics Act 2012 by presiding over an unlawful payments of extraneous allowances to 24 officers working in the County Public Service Board, including himself. This is a serious violation on Chapter 6 of the Constitution of Kenya. 2. Irregularly listing yourself as a beneficiary of extraneous allowance of 25,000 shillings per month, knowing well that board members are not entitled to allowance and without knowledge of the board members. Listing one Mr. Joseph Wambua, Deputy Secretary CEO, for extraneous allowance of 25,000, knowing very well that such a position does not exist in the board and therefore that would be a violation of law. This is misuse of public funds, violation of the Constitution, and incompetence. Involvement in the awarding of extraneous allowance to 13 officers, including the daughter of the board's chairperson, Ms. Regina Wakio Kioko, and dishonestly concealing the surname to hide identity. In the support of this, the mover of the motion tabled a letter from Onesimus Muya Mutesia to the Chief Officer, Department of Public Service and Quality Management, dated 27th April 2020, that conveyed a decision of the Machakos County Public Service Board on approval of payment of extraneous allowances for 24 officers. Mr. Onesimus Muya Mutesia and Mr. Joseph Wambua was first and second in the list and were to be paid 25,000 extraneous allowance per month. The designation of Joseph Wambua, according to the letter, was Deputy Secretary, CEO, which, according to the mover, a position was not provided for in any law. The mover of this motion also tabled another letter to Onesimus Muya Mutesia from the Chief Officer, Public Service and Quality Management, dated 15th July 2021, instructing Mr. Onesimus Muya Mutesia to refund any payment made to him in regard to extraneous allowance. The mover also tabled minutes of the Career Progression Committee held on 15th October 2021, where Onesimus Muya Mutesia was present. The committee during that meeting approved the award of extraneous allowance to 13 officers. Number 11 on the list was Regina Wakio Kioko, Deputy Sub-County Administrator, awarded extraneous allowance of 25,000 per month. In addition to the minutes, the mover also tabled a letter from Onesimus Muya Mutesia, the Secretary to the County Public Service Board, to the Chief Officer, Public Service and Quality Management, dated 18th October 2021, conveying a decision of the County Public Service Board on award of extraneous allowance to 13 officers. Number 2 on the list was Regina Wakio Kioko, whom the mover confirmed is the daughter of the chairperson, George Kiokoluka, whose job designation was deputy sub-account administrator, awarded 25,000 as extraneous allowance per month. Franklin Makola. The witness, Franklin Makola, is in his oral submissions made reference to letters tabled, Annex 23, tabled by the mover, citing that the 24 listed officers in the letter were being paid extraneous allowance for doing work they had been appointed to do. The letter, dated 27 April 2020, from the Secretary of the County Public Service Board, and listed Joseph Wambua, the Deputy Secretary CEO, as a beneficiary of 25,000 per month meant for extraneous allowance. Mr. Franklin Makola also cited the board that minutes of 5th October 2021 approving the award of 13 extraneous allowance. Number 11 in the list was Regina Wakio Kioko, Deputy Sub-County Administrator, awarded the extraneous allowance of 25,000 per month. The witness confirmed that Regina Wakio is the daughter of George Kiokoluka, chairperson of the County Public Service Board. The witness also submitted that Regina Wakio Kioko has never served as Deputy Sub-County Administrator, but has been working in the office of the governor and therefore did not deserve to earn extraneous allowances. Response. In his response, Mr. Onesimus Mutisa stated that the Secretary does not make decisions on his own but communicates the decisions of the board. The board procedurally approved the said extraneous allowance as evidenced by the minutes of the board, which could not be accessed because the offices were locked. According to him, he does not owe the government an unlawful payment, of which can be confirmed from the personal file and the payroll. The Secretary was working overtime to clear the backlog, and extraneous allowances were approved as a blanket for all the officers. Mr. Onesimus Mutisia further replied that the board procedurally approved the payment of extraneous allowance to Joseph Wambua, who was substantively appointed as an administrator during the tenure of previous board. He was therefore substantively working. In further response, Mr. Muya submitted that the payment of extraneous to the 13 officers, including the chairperson's daughter, was procedurally approved by the board as requested by the office of the governor with confirmation of a budget. Observations of the Select Committee. The committee observed that the Secretary did not seek for an advisory from Salaries and Remuneration Commission on the payment of extraneous allowances. The Commission is mandated with advising the national and county governments on remuneration and benefits of all other public officers as provided for in Article 234B of the Constitution. B. Sexually harassed fellow public officers. The mover of the motion in the particulars of allegations stated that Onesimus Muya Mutisia had violated Article 232(1) of A and 236 of the Constitution on the values and principles of public service, Section 23(1) of the Sexual Offences Act 2006, Section 21 of the Public Officers Ethics Act 2012, and Section 6 of the Employment Act 2007, which prohibits sexual harassment of a member of public or a fellow public officer. In the month of August 2021, Mr. Onesimus Muya Mutisia was accused of sexual harassment and intimidation by 2 officers through letters to the County Secretary and the County Executive Committee member for Public Services and Quality Management, which letters were copied to all board members through their individual emails, together with evidence from electronic messages. The officers were Helen Musau and Caroline Nzioka. The mover of the motion in his submission cited a letter from Caroline Nzioka to the county attorney alleging that Onesimus Muya Mutisia had harassed and intimidated her sexually. The letter was dated 23rd September 2022. The complainant, Caroline Nzioka, stated that she had previously reported the acts of sexual harassment to the county secretary, Ms. Grace Monguti, and members of the County Public Service Board on 16th August 2021, but no action was taken. I want to believe that there is an error. Okay, you'll correct later. The complainant was instead suspended, then denied promotion, and transferred from the County Public Service Board to Department of Public Service and Quality Management. The next to the letter were screenshots of WhatsApp messages exchanges, and it has been annexed in this report, alleged to be between Ellen Musau and Anosmas Muya Mutesia. Efforts to have the complainant assisted by the board were futile, and Ellen was later transferred to the Department of Lands, Energy and Urban Development. Franklin Makola, the witness, Franklin Makola, in his oral submission cited the cases of Ellen Musau and Caroline Nzioka against Onesimus Muya Mutesia. He stated that both cases were discussed in board meetings, and he personally felt that the board was not in a position to handle such cases and should leave the police to investigate the matter, since they had been reported to and police occurrence book numbers taken. Witness Ellen Musau. The witness Ellen Musau, in her written submissions, gave the following chronology of events in relevance to the matter under consideration. On February 3rd, 2014, Ellen was given an appointment letter, hired as a Senior Human Resource Management Officer, Job Group L, with a KCSC certificate mean grade of C plane, attained in 1989, and her name's Kitele Ellen Mudeu. A transcript for a diploma course dated 13th January 1994 in Cooperative Management and ICDL certificate attained in 2006. On 5th August 2014, Ellen received confirmation of appointment letter from board on permanent and pensionable terms as a Senior Human Resource Management Officer, Job Group L. In the year 2017, Ellen attained her bachelor's degree from St. Paul's University in Business Administration and Management, awarded on 60th day of October 2017. On 1st September 2017, Ellen received a letter from the Chief Officer Public Service and Quality Management, Mrs. Grace Munguti, varying her designation to Senior Human Resource Management Officer, Job Group L, with effect from 3rd February 2014. On 14th October 2020, Ellen received a response through a letter reference number from Onesimus Mutesia, the Secretary, to the board declining a request for promotion on grounds that she produced a degree in 2017, 3 years after her appointment. Further, it is stated that her degree was not admissible by the fact that she did not have minimum qualification in KCEC to undertake the degree. On 3rd December 2020, Ellen received a letter of transfer from board to the
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm raising on standing order number 27. Honorable Speaker, aware that the standing order number 27-2, providing that the Speaker shall interrupt business at 12:30 in the morning sitting. Aware that the standing order number 27-3, provided that the House may resolve to extend a sitting time. Aware that the standing order number 27-4 requires a motion to extend sittings time to be moved at least 30 minutes before the time appointed on adjournment. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move the motion that this House resolves to extend its sitting time until the business in the order paper is concluded. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I call upon Honorable Mbahati to second my motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I do second.
I now propose the question that aware that the standing order number 27-2 provides that the speaker shall interrupt business at 12:30 p.m. for the morning sitting, aware that standing order number 27-3 provides that the House may resolve to extend its sitting time, aware that standing order number 27-4 requires motion to extend sitting time to be moved at least 30 minutes before the time appointed of adjournment. I beg to move the motion that the House resolves to extend its sitting time until the business in question. Thank you. Sorry? As many as of the opinion say ayes. As many as of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. Honorable Stephen Mann, can you proceed reading the report, please?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On 3rd December 2020, Ellen received a letter of transfer from the board to the Department of Public Service Quality Management, signed by Grace Munguti, County Secretary and End of Public Service. On 23rd August 2021, Ellen wrote to Kemeu CECM seeking his intervention on sexual harassment, intimidation, injustice at our workplace by the CEO of the board. On 26th August 2021, acknowledgement by letter by Kemeu CECM Public Service Quality Management acknowledging received of a letter from Ellen. Ms. Ellen Musau, in an oral submission, stated that the CEO secretary to the board started sending messages to her at around March to May 2019, but she refused his sexual advances, hence the CEO started harassing her.
Members, can we have one meeting? Let's have one meeting.
Thank you. The CEO secretary to the board and earlier been removed from office following a petition by staff in the County Public Service Board, but was later reinstated. Ellen indicated that she sought for assistance from one of the members of the County Public Service Board, Mr. Franklin Mosela Makola, who was the only member available and willing to assist. Attempts to reach the chair to the board were in vain. She indicated that chair turned her down. Helen confirmed that she did not forward a formal complaint to the chair board on sexual harassment. She further claimed that her name was scrapped from a list of shortlisted candidates for promotion. Helen informed the committee that a subcommittee was formed under the influence of CEO to investigate and produce a report on the sexual harassment complaint. She informed the committee that the case was never reported to the relevant authorities since she wanted to exhaust all internal measures. However, she later reported to the police and earned police OB number. She indicated that her transfer from the board was making her suffer financial loss because her extraneous allowance was discontinued. It was not done It was not done out of justice, hence she requested that the matter to be concluded fairly to enable her continue with her studies. Caroline Nzioka. The witness, Caroline Nzioka, in her written submission, gave the following chronology of events in relevance to the matter under consideration. Letter promoting Caroline dated 12th May 2021 to the position of Human Resource Management Assistant Job Group K with effect from 1st January 2021 by the Chief Officer, Public Service and Quality Management. Sexual harassment complaint to the County Secretary in a letter dated 6th August 2021. C. Demand letter to Caroline by the CEO's advocates O.N. Macau and Muley advocates dated 16th August 2021 demanding that Caroline reacts and offers an apology but the sexual harassment complaint later. Suspension letter to Caroline by the Deputy Secretary to the Board dated 1st September 2021. Letter conveying decision to withdraw Caroline's promotion to Human Resource Management Assistant Job Group K effective January 2021 by a resolution of Board via letter dated 14th September 2021 written by the Chief Officer Public Service Quality Management dated 22nd September 2021. Letter suspending Caroline's promotion by the Deputy Secretary to the Board following a resolution of the Board in full Board meeting held on 28th September 2021. Dated 28th September 2021. The Board's warning letter to Caroline by the Deputy Secretary to the Board with findings of her sexual harassment allegations and assault of a workmate dated 28th September 2021. Demand letter to the Board on suspension of Caroline's by her advocates F. Katunga dated 22nd September 2021. Request for submission of diploma certificate by the Board dated 28th September 2021. A response to illegal suspension of Caroline by CEO's advocate B.M. Mungata and company advocates dated that 30th September 2021. Demand letter to Caroline by the CEO's advocate B.M. Mungata and company advocates dated 12 October 2021, demanding that Caroline retracts and offers an apology but publication of defamatory statements. A response to demands for apology by Caroline's advocates F. Katunga and company advocates dated 18th October 2021. Caroline's response on request to submit diploma certificate on 18th November 2021 stating that the college was closed during the period when COVID-19 cases were high. Matter live in court under civil case number 611 of 2021 in the Magistrates Court of Machakos between Onesimus Motisa Muia to the Board, Secretary to the Board versus Caroline Nzioka. Ms. Caroline Nzioka in her oral submission stated that she started working in a casual employee in 2013 but was appointed in 2014 on a clerical officer in Job Group J. A confirmation in appointment was done 4 years down the line from the date of appointment. She indicated that the CEO secretary of the board started sexually harassing her by calling her to his office when telling her to put off her phone so that she cannot record their conversations. This escalated further and the CEO started threatening her that she will kill her husband. At one point, she indicated that she held her hand tight and tried to kiss her. Upon refusal to the sexual advances, she has been harassed since April 2021. She reported the matter and the police and the CEO of the board began a counter-attack saying that she wanted to kill him. She indicated that she feared to report the case since the two other employees who initially reported the matter were transferred. She finally decided to report the matter to the County Secretary via letter dated 18th June 2021. The County Secretary advised her to report the matter to the police on 16th June 2021. She dropped a letter to the County Secretary and an email to board members. She was thereafter approached by the Vice Chairperson, Cecilia Sereka, who informed her to drop the case, terming it as nonsense. It was called to appear before the board without notice and was chased away after requesting for some time to compose herself. She sought advice from her lawyer since no one was ready to listen to her. She was suspended from work on 1st September 2021. The committee further informed on an incident where Caroline claims she had a miscarriage after she fell over a chair in the office of Mr. Onesimus Muya while trying to free herself as she was pulling her near him in an attempt to rape. Response. Mr. Onesimus Muya Motiza in his response submitted that the board and the County Assembly investigated the accusations against him. The report of the Second Assembly confirmed the sexual harassment allegations were unsubstantiated and were falsely aimed at securing promotions without merit. The matter is in court for defamation. Observations of the Select Committee. The committee observed that the board, in handling the matters of sexual harassment, did not conduct due diligence and fair administration of justice. Since the cases had been reported to the police, the board would have waited for the full investigation report for necessary action to be taken. Transfer of the two mentioned officers was illegal and grounds for such actions were not justified. On the oral submissions of Helen Musau and Caroline Zioka, the committee notes that Mr. Onesimus Muya Motiza had been pestering the two by calling them frequently in his office demanding for sexual favors. Section 23(1) of Sexual Offences Act 2006 provide that any person who is being in a position of authority or holding public office who persistently makes any sexual advances or requests which he or she knows all as reasonable grounds to know are unwelcome, is guilty of the offense of sexual harassment and shall be liable to imprisonment for a term of not less than 3 years or to a fine of not less than 100,000 shillings or both. Section 97, further Section 23(2) of the Sexual Offences Act 2006 stipulates that it shall be necessary to prove in charge of sexual harassment that the submission of rejection by the person to whom advances are requests are made is intended to be used as a basis of employment or of a decision relevant to the career of the alleged victim or of service due to a member of the public in the case of public officer. Such advances or requests have the effect of interfering with the alleged victim's work or educational performance or creating an offensive working or learning environment for the alleged victim or denial of service due to the member of public from a public office. Section 61A of Employment Act 2007 provides that an employee is sexually harassed if the employer of that employee or a representative of that employer or a co-worker directly or indirectly requests that the employee for sexual intercourse, sexual conduct, or any other form of sexual activity that contains an implied or express. Roman 1. Promise of preferential treatment in employment. 2. Threat of detrimental treatment in employment. Or 3. Threat but the present or future employment status of the employee. 4. Uses language, whether written or spoken, of a sexual nature. 5. Uses visual material of a sexual nature or shows physical behavior of a sexual nature which directly or indirectly subjects the employee to behavior that is unwelcome or offensive to that employee, and that by its nature has a detrimental effect on that employee's employment, job performance, or job satisfaction. As per Section 23(1) and 2 of the Sexual Offences Act 2006 and Section 6 of Employment Act, the committee notes that Mr. Onesimus Muya used various methods to lure Ellen Musau and Caroline Zioka to accept his sexual advances. On refusal, the two suffered consequences of being transferred from the County Public Service Board immediately after reporting sexual harassment to the board members instead of being given a chance to explain themselves. The extraneous allowances being stopped or being transferred from County Public Service Board, while officers not in the County Public Service Board, like in the case of the chairperson's daughter, aunt, it, and for the case of Caroline Nzioka being surcharged arrears she earned while at County Public Service Board, withholding promotion letters from the said officers and revoking the same, as was the case for Caroline Nzioka. Based on the written and oral submissions presented, the committee found Mr. Onesimus Mutesia to have violated sections 23, 1 and 2 of the Sexual Offences Act 2006 and section 6 of Employment Act 2007. Madam Speaker, I wish to call upon Vice Chair Honorable Grace Bart at least to proceed.
Sorry, maybe you can be helped by her.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that. That was really, really a lot of work you have done.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Grace Bahati, MCA Cheleni Ward, and the Vice Chair of the Select Committee. Failure to promote equity in the county public service. The mover of the motion in the particulars of allegation stated that Onesimus Moya Mutesia had violated Article 236B of the Constitution of Kenya, Section 68A of the County Governments Act number 17 and 22 on promotion of equity by the county public service boards, and Section 21 as Order 2 of the Public Officers Ethics Act 2012 and Section 6 of the Employment Act 2007, which prohibits sexual harassment of a fellow public officer. By a letter dated 12 May 2021, Ms. Caroline Nzioka was promoted to the promotion of Human Resource Management Assistant 1 with effect from 1st January 2021, but her letter was withheld by Mr. Onesimus Moya Mutesia, during which the time he was demanding for sexual favors from her. When the same did not succeed and she reported the matter, he went ahead and purported to withdraw the same via letter dated 22nd September 2021 without the due process. In support, the mover tabled a letter on promotion dated 12th May 2021 addressed to Caroline Nzioka conveying a decision of the County Public Service Board to promote her from clerical officer to Human Resource Assistant 1 with effect from 1st January 2021. The promotion was later withdrawn via a letter dated 22nd September 2021, citing unsorted issues related to her certificates.
Madam Speaker, I beg for your indulgence. Honorable Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, the report before us is quite bulky. I would request that members be given time to go through it, and that the House Business Committee, it be referred to the House Business Committee for reballoting.
Okay.
I also cite Standing Order number 117, that no more than one stage of a bill, in this case, this motion, should be taken in one sitting to support my request, Madam Speaker.
What's the prayer?
I pray that since the report is quite bulky,
Yes.
that we give members some time to ventilate about the report,
Yes.
and also that it be referred again to the House Business Committee for reballoting. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also request Mheshimiwa Vincent to second my proposal.
Proceed, Mheshimiwa Vincent.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You realize following through the reading is taking a tall order on members, in as much as our concentration level was high in the morning, but it's going down.
Yes.
I prefer that members be given humble time to read for themselves, so that we can save the narrators the pain of having to read as the members follow, and also the other procedures as requested by the majority leader to be effected. I second.
Thank you. Mheshimiwa Ngunga, what do you want to say?
Madam Speaker, you know when I wake up I have a lot to say, but I'll be very brief this time round because in my 6 years of legislating, this is the first time I'm seeing a member reading a report and another one indulging saying that that other member is tired. But however, I want to go with what majority is pleading because in a later term, this is called adjournment, Mr. Majority Leader. What you should have said is that you are praying for this motion to be deferred to a later date, owing to the fact that, Mheshimiwa Leader of Majority, you have no numbers. Mheshimiwa Speaker, I want to raise and second the proposal that Honorable Nzioka's motion is seconded to the House Business Committee for a later date, but let us be blank and blunt about this. It is about numbers, Mheshimiwa Speaker. I want to support you. And in the spirit of consultation, Madam Speaker.
Mheshimiwa Ngunga, don't put words to anybody.
Yes, but I'm just saying.
Just say what you wanted to say.
I wanted to say, Madam Speaker,
point of information.
that I want to support what the majority leader is asking.
Point of information, Madam Speaker.
In a better way.
Yes,
let me just finish this.
Let me hear the point of information.
All right.
Thank you. I want to inform the honorable member that it doesn't matter whether the cat is black or white, as long as it can catch the mouse.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa Vincent.
It's okay, Madam
You're
Speaker.
done?
No, I'm not done. I was just saying, Madam Speaker, while many points of orders could be coming, I should pray for your protection so that just make my points good.
I'm actually protecting you.
Yes, Madam Speaker. Just protect me so I think.
Let me have the point.
It is always good, Madam Speaker, to have another way of looking at it. And my way has always been the other way, and sometimes could be the right way. I'm just saying, this is out of procedure, Madam Speaker. I know the motion beyond us is very emotive. That I know. I live in this county and know what is happening in place.
Madam Speaker, point of information.
For the sake of
I think the honorable member is casting aspersion on my intentions. The honorable member is casting aspersion on my intention. I have just asked a request that you give members time to read through and also for reballoting. Nothing more. He is actually anticipating debate that is going to come in the future. Thank you.
So what you have said is what I had.
So I want to
please restrict yourself to purely supporting.
Yes, Madam Speaker, but in supporting, Madam Speaker, I'm saying in supporting what I support, I must say what I actually was saying.
You have made your point. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, I think the honorable member is also Madam Speaker, the honorable speaker member is out of order by saying he cannot order you, Madam Speaker.
I have ruled over this matter, Mheshimiwa Ngunga. You made your point.
I supported that the motion be deferred to the Office Business Committee because there are no numbers, Madam Speaker.
Seat, please.
Thank you.
Please have a seat.
That is out of order.
Mheshimiwa Ndawa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to inform the House, together with the chair, that the request was just for members to be given time, nothing else. So it is either we agree or we disagree. So I'm requesting that you put the question across. Then we agree that we liberate and defer for another later date.
I want to conclude this matter. Mheshimiwa Kilonzo, what do you want to say?
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Are you opening up another page?
No, I'm not opening another
Are you supporting?
page. I'm supporting it by the fact that the document is voluminous and we need to have a time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mheshimiwa Brian.
Madam Speaker, I stand to support what my majority leader is pleading for. But let people not start putting words in his mouth. He's not asking for a later date. Madam Speaker, there comes a time when people the reason of people is put before any other interests. Looks like there are people in this house who have other interests apart from the county. We stand here as members of this county assembly, very firm on the commitment of ensuring that sanity comes to this county of Machakos. It might take 1 hour, might take 1 day, but Madam Speaker, the truth is coming out, and those men and women of this assembly who stand by the truth will carry the day. I support.
Thank you, members. Thank you, members. Thank you, members. You'll be, Honorable Ndi, you'll make your remarks very fast, and you are going to be the last so that I make
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yes.
For catching my eye. As a former paramilitary trained officer, I think what the majority has done is good for all of us. It is called, in the military wise, tactical retreat. We are coming back and we are going to win. The naysayers, be warned, will be back. Thank you, I support.
Thank you, honorable members. I hereby put this across that the motion is referred back to the House Business Committee for balloting. And with those remarks, we adjourn the House to 2 p.m. today, 2:30 p.m. today. Thank you.
Resolves to exempt the businesses appearing as order number 10 in today's order paper from the provisions of Standing Order 40 subsection 3, a day allocated for business, not sponsored by majority or minority party, or business sponsored by the committee. And in case you're wondering, this particular order number 10, what is it about? It is a motion on the consideration of sessional paper number 1 of the year 2022 on the national automotive policy. And this being a similar motion by the leader of majority, is that the House adopts a sessional paper number 1 of 2022 on the national automotive policy, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, May 25th. The year is 2022. Those are some of the motions that are featuring on the order paper this morning. Another motion from the Departmental Committee on Matters Lands by Honorable Ferdinand Wanyonyi is on the publishing of rules and regulations for the private land use as well as management in regard to the minimum and maximum land holdings in Kenya. Members of Parliament continue streaming into the chamber this morning, and this is to allow for the House to commence business at exactly 9:30 a.m. Pursuant to Standing Orders number 42A, subsection 5, members of Parliament will equally be fielding questions specified to various departmental committees. The chair or the member for Tessa, Honorable Oko Kaunya, will be asking the Cabinet Secretary for Labour